Okay, guys. Here's where we're at today. We have Mateo, and I asked Mateo, "What are you? What are you, Mateo?" And he says, "I am a millennial savant."
I didn't have the millennial in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I put the millennial in. You said savant that teaches thought process, or help me out.
Yeah. Well, I got to back up a little bit. I said savant when I thought you were introducing me as a savant.
Okay.
Because if I was...
So you want me... Okay, so Mateo the savant...
That comes off,
a little weird?
Braggadocious, yeah.
Okay, we don't want braggadocious.
Yeah,
I just want... No. We're going to talk about... you teach people... I know you teach sales training techniques. You teach people thought processes. And you're a young guy. How old are you? If you don't mind my...
22.
22. So you're a young guy. Really awesome to see somebody that cares about this process. It's because it's a process. It's understanding the human psyche and a whole bunch of stuff. But when I found out that you're a sales trainer, really excited about that. Really excited. So who do we got here? We got me. I'm lead around the finance man. We got
Chris Dominguez, the podcast genius.
You go with him. That's not bad. Podcast genius.
I think it's horrible. I don't like taglines. But
Okay, and then Mateo, who are you?
I guess I'm the millennial savant.
All right, good.
He's Mateo. You're Mateo to me, man. You're Mateo
that
to me.
website. Yeah. Somebody please register that website, Millennial Savant. We're gonna need that somewhere in the future. Okay, so Mateo, tell me about what you do. What do you do? What do you do? Talk to me.
That's a loaded question.
Okay.
So I guess in the simplest terms is I teach business people different techniques in persuasion and influence. That can be body language reading. It can be anything from different psychological tactics to influence people, which I'm sure we'll get into later on. But overall, the mantra of my business is how to think, not what to think. So that's where I try to incorporate everything into one.
Okay, so one of my favorite questions is, hey, can you give me something I can use? I don't know what that means. Give me something I can use. Talk to me.
All right. Well, what do you want to use? Well, what's the end goal?
The end goal is
to give me a situation.
Don't have a situation. I just need a power tagline, something that just like boom. How does this work? So let's say you're trying to teach a business owner how to do better in business. What do you teach them?
Well, that's not really my strong suit. So when it comes to business, I'm pretty ignorant in a lot of the different areas of business.
Okay.
What I teach is, okay, say you got a new person who's got to do 100 cold calls a day.
Okay.
Right? I come in and I teach them exactly how to move through that conversation, how to navigate through that conversation so that they can be more influential.
Okay, give me an example.
All right. Well, so the whole focus of it is around this philosophy that I came up with called the Shepherd philosophy.
Okay.
So the reason I call it the Shepherd philosophy is it's about leading people to the conclusion that you want to come to.
Okay.
And when I first got started, so I got started in real estate right after high school. And I realized as soon as I got in that the various scripts and things that they had didn't follow the basic principles of psychology, of framework, and it was a lot of self-validating material. Here's why I'm the best. So all I did was kind of reverse that. I call it the role reversal, this part, which is where you're pushing back most of the time. So you're saying pushback questions. You're saying things like, I can get the home sold if you're talking real estate. But my concern is, are you guys even motivated, right? So you're putting the concern back on them. And you're establishing what the concern is, because so often it's this, everything's perfect, and your brain says, no, that's not true. We have to have an issue somewhere in there. So your brain gets turned off by that. So you have to provide them with the issue, and you have to provide them with an issue that's easily overcomable.
So somebody who's cold calling, and you brought up the idea someone's cold calling,
yeah.
But I've cold called many times, and immediately people don't want to talk to you. How do you reverse that?
Well, at the very beginning of the conversation, one of the very first things you do is I teach my clients to say, do a pushback at the very beginning. The very first thing that you get is, hey, I don't have time, or I'm busy right now. So when I call somebody, I start out with, hey, I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to give you a call. Now they're left with two options. Either they can agree with whatever I just said, right? They can agree with, yeah, well, I don't have much time either, in which case they're falling into my frame. Or they can disagree with it, in which case that's better for me because now we've got more time.
You mean they hang up?
No, I meant that they disagree with, I mean, it could be a hang up, who knows?
Okay.
But I meant, or they disagree and they continue on with a longer conversation, or they just have no preference one way or the other. But it's about you presenting the objections before they're able to. It's called preemptive objection role reversal.
Wow, it's a big word, man.
That is a big
That's
word.
That's a.
I mean,
let me
multiple
practice
words,
it a little
actually.
bit. Preemptive
You can think poor.
objection
P-O-R-R.
reversal.
P-O-R-R.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Preemptive
intense.
objection role reversal, yeah.
That's pretty, the part that fascinates me
Yeah.
is that you're 22. I know that's I should not be bringing up the age over and over, but
Yeah.
the fact that you know a lot of this stuff at 22, just knowing that, just understanding that there's a psychology inside of all of this, because everybody listens to the trainers, and the trainers teach some versions of this. You're right. Your technique's a little different. You kind of put them on the back heels, or you put them on their heels
No.
right out of the jump. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So you're like, hey, I don't have a lot of time. I do want to tell you this, and
Yeah.
then they're like, all right, because that automatically disrupts the frame, and like you said, they either fall into your frame. Now, when you're cold calling, they hang up on you
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Not a little bit, a lot. That's
Yeah.
hard work, man.
Well, you don't want to talk to those people anyways. But it's not just cold calling. I teach this to CEOs that never pick up a phone ever, and this could be in negotiation, perhaps.
Okay, so give me something I can use. Give me something in a negotiation.
All right. Well, I'll give you the basic framework of how you want to go about the negotiation. So, I boxed for a while.
Okay.
I boxed for 8 years, and I think my boxing coach stole this tagline from somebody, but he said, boxing is like dancing, except in dancing, there's predetermined roles. And in boxing, those roles have not yet been predetermined. So you're fighting for that lead role the whole time, right? I think it's the same thing in conversation. So you go into conversations with basic rules that have already been put in place in both of you guys' heads. For example, like if you're a military higher up talking to somebody lower down, you might tell them to do something, they go and do it. If you told a random guy on the street, there's not those underlying rules in place, so it probably wouldn't do it. When you go into any sort of negotiation where you have the bottom hand, you don't have as much to offer, a lot of people become the interviewee. And what I teach them to do is to reverse those roles and become the interviewer, in which case you're not saying all of these things like, hey, I'm the best, or hey, I can do this. You're not saying those things directly, and you're not self-validating, but you kind of are saying those things through your body language, your tonality, and just the fact that you're willing to push back if you're doing it correctly. So you're becoming the interviewer instead of the interviewee, when typically those wouldn't be the predetermined roles. Does that make sense?
Kind
You
of,
look
but
a
I'm
little
still
puzzled
understanding.
there,
Yeah, a little puzzled because I'm trying to put myself
Yeah.
into the situation of a CEO.
Right.
And by the way, most people don't even know what CEO is. But if they actually get to the
Okay.
position of CEO and they're making a negotiation, how does this help that CEO?
What do you mean? If they're in a negotiation? Well, I was talking about, so if a CEO goes into a negotiation having the not the upper hand, right? So they're kind of lower on the totem pole, which mostly what I teach, because that's the situation where you need negotiation the most. You don't really need negotiation as much if you come in with the upper hand. So it's all about being willing to walk away, not being attached to the outcome, and being able to push back when necessary to show that even though they may have a little bit of an upper hand here, it's like, I'd love to work with you, but I don't need to work with you. And so all of it gets into the real technical stuff, but that's the main overlying philosophy of it all. And we can get into the real technical stuff.
Yeah,
if
get
you
into
want.
technicals, man. Get into the weeds. That's what we're here for. Let's
All
get
right,
into the
well,
weeds,
what,
man.
What do you want to know? You have to give me, because I mean, this would be an all-day conversation if I got into everything.
That's okay. We get into the weeds. We can go all day.
Well,
we got plenty of tape.
Let's lead with an example. So, have
Yeah,
you
give me
taken
an
a
example.
professional to another level using these techniques?
Oh, 100%. In fact, that's how we all met, right? We all met in the office of somebody who had just started out in the business, and I don't know. You guys probably know better than me. What's she been in the business for?
Oh yeah,
What's that?
we're talking about a very young
Yeah.
real estate professional, entered in about a year ago, fully licensed, and is kicking butt. It's probably going to be number one in her office very soon.
Which,
Right.
by the way, is the reason that I was intrigued, because it did not escape me that you were a millennial teaching a millennial.
Yeah.
And you're teaching techniques that I think you're going to grow to fine tune them as you spend more time on the planet, just
Oh, sure.
like reality.
Yeah.
But the millennials some of them are open to this, and if they can get somebody that they can identify with to teach them it, they're going to learn it much faster.
Well, yeah. It's funny because most of my clients aren't millennials. I think I have 2 clients, and one of them is the one that we're talking about that are millennials. The other ones are, I would say the average age group is late 40s.
You have more success with older than younger?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say that, at least in this area, there are more people that can afford my services that are in that age bracket.
What would be your average age of your client?
Like I said, late 40s.
How do they respond to a 22-year-old?
Well, if they're hiring me, they're responding good. A lot of them come in very skeptical, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's somewhat ridiculous for me to walk in anywhere and say I could teach you anything. But when they see me talk, which is how I get most of my clients, they'll see me at a big talk or something. They go in and they don't really want to be there. And by the end of it, they're coming up to me and they're asking how we can sit down one-on-one and what we can do from there to continue. And I think that if there needs to be a way for me to get more out there in the public so that everybody can hear it before they step in, because if I walk into an office cold turkey, I mean, it's laughable, right? Like if I walked in this office, in fact I did, by the way, I walked in this where we're sitting right now 3 years ago when I had just started, and I think I got laughed at.
Did you laugh at it? Was it him?
Hey, it wasn't me.
It
I don't
was
think so.
definitely
I don't
me.
think so.
It
It
was
was definitely. It's probably
100%
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm laughing right now, though. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. No,
He
it's a
came in
good
with a
thing.
money tie.
With the
That's
money
how I
tie?
knew.
That's how I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell. That's the money
how I
tie.
know.
That's how
It was
how you
him?
give away. So what I'm looking for is, like, again, something I can use, and I'll give you examples, okay? Because
Yeah.
it's kind of unfair for me not to give you an example. I've been
Yeah.
teaching sales for 35 years, a long time. I've been studying sales my whole life, and I have been blessed to have been taught. I've been blessed to have been taught by a whole bunch of peoples. Somebody says, "Give me something now," and I say, "Okay, how do you take control of conversation?" And I said, "With this," and what's the answer to that?
You're the one asking the questions,
Just
but I
ask-
think there's
just
more to it.
Ask a question. Just it really is that simple. It's ask a
I
question.
don't think so. I think that there's other asking the questions,
Uh-huh.
controlling the options, and controlling the frame. You decide the options.
So-
if you provide the options, you control the frame.
Well,
and you
that's a
ask the
different way to
questions.
control it, but there's a difference in controlling it. And this is good. This is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Something I can
Yeah.
use. And somebody tells me, "Lee, what does that mean?" I said, "Listen, next time you're in a fight with your significant other, your husband or your wife or anything, and you guys are fighting about, I don't know, somebody wrecked the car or something, and you guys are screaming at each other back and forth, have the presence of mind to stop for 1 second and say, 'Can I ask you one question? Just one question.'" And you know what they will universally say? "What?"
That was loud.
Yeah, sorry.
As you see my hand adjusting my...
What was that?
He's turning down the volume. He's like, "Hey, too loud."
Yeah.
So they will universally say, "What?" And at that moment, you can take that conversation in any direction you want to. And I say, then ask them, "What do you want for dinner?" And watch them try and jump back on that train, the pattern that they were running, and they can't. They can try and get back on it. If you allow them to get back on it, they will get back on it. But if you keep them off the pattern, it's called a pattern interrupt. If you keep them off the pattern, then they will not be able to gain steam with that, and you'll have effectively controlled the conversation.
Right.
Now, when you talk about the framework, we're talking about if-then situations, multiple choice closes, Attorneys say, hey, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. There's a lot of these different things, but the most fundamental thing, how do you take control of a conversation? Ask a question. No matter where you're at,
Why?
if you're inside of
Why?
that, so you just asked the question, and that took, if I had not been trained,
Yeah.
I would be forced on the back of my heels to answer that. When you're trained, you can know whether or not to address it or not.
Yeah.
But most people, this is just like when somebody says, give me something I can use, just that one little tiny piece. And like alternative choice questions, alternate or if then. One of the next most powerful thing in sales is if then, if then, if then. Because if is a giant abyss, then is a giant abyss. And I can put that together. Hey, Mateo, if I could show you how to get all the things you've ever wanted in your entire life, your dreams come true, everything is perfect, then would you consider going into the bottle manufacturing business? If I could completely make you happy in every possible way, finance, everything that you ever want, fulfillment, then would you go into bottle manufacturing? And see, because I can open up the abyss with if, and I can open up another abyss with then, I force your mind to open up for a second going, well, I can't be stupid. This could, and
Well,
I
yeah,
immediately take control of the conversation with that. But that's an if-then situation.
Yeah.
So if somebody says, give me something I can use, I tell them first thing, how to take control of conversation. Ask a question. Cool. All right, give me something more. All right, your most powerful thing you'll ever learn is an if-then close. If-then, if-then. All right, what is that? So that's something you can tangibly grab onto.
Right.
And if you just master these two things, your entire sales career will change.
Yeah.
Entire sales career.
Yeah.
So now, when I go to you and I say, hey, give me something I can use. Now, that's my piece. Give me something I can use.
Well, first I want to go back.
Okay?
So the if then, I like that because that lets the brain come up with their own conclusion, right? So they're concluding what. So if you were to mention all the specifics of what was going to make them happy, you're rolling the dice.
Correct.
You might get it right, you might get it wrong. If you say if then, you're staying ambiguous, and now their brain has to figure out, okay, well, what is going to make me happy? And now you associate whatever that thing is for them with whatever you wanted. So I like that. But I was going to ask you that question once more. Why? Why do you ask questions? Because I think every sales script has questions, right? But I think a lot of people don't know why they're asking questions to control a conversation, and they don't know why asking questions does control a conversation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, so what? Why?
Why ask
Why
questions?
ask questions?
Because if I need to get into your world by me asking you something, you either have to be rude, sociologically
Right.
unacceptable, or you have to entertain it at least for a second. And this is largely going away, by the way, because of telemarketing and all the stuff we get bombarded with. But if you get a telemarketer going, hey, did you want me to help you build your website? I don't even answer it. I don't think most people answer anymore. You just hang up because we've hit a spot in life where we're numb. However, because we are a human species and we need connection, if I ask you a question, there's almost a psychological obligation on your end to answer. So when you answer that question, and then we'll go back to the if then is so much more complicated than that, because inside of if then, everybody likes to think they know what they want, but they don't want to be so closed-minded that they're willing to shut everything out. So if I say, if I could give you everything you ever want, then would you consider this? I'm putting your ego in conflict with your logic. And when those two collide inside of your brain for a second, you go, I have to say yes because I can't be so closed-minded that I say no.
Right.
So when you get into complexity of an if-then, I'm putting your ego against your logic within your brain, and you don't even know I'm doing it. And because I say no, everybody for a moment pauses because they can't just say, no, I'm cold-minded and this is how it is. But the other side is, yes, I will listen to anything you say. Neither one of those works. Yeah. But if you give an if with the abyss and then a then with the abyss, and these two collide with each other, you can actually see the short circuit in people's brain when they go, well, I think about it, I'd entertain it. That at that moment, I studied hypnosis for a long time. At that moment, there's a little opening inside the brain, and if I know how to get in there real fast, I can put something that helps my sales process.
Yeah.
So when I say give me something I can use, I can get into the complexities of the sales process and the if-then closes, alternate choice closes, open-ended questions, close-ended questions, all types of different things put to the task. I give people that and walk away, hey, write this down, if-then.
Yeah.
That's it, just that.
Yeah.
So,
So that was, I agree with that.
good, thank you.
100%.
Appreciate it.
I think that there's a couple more reasons why you should ask questions.
Tell me.
And I think that it's really important to understand, you got to understand all of the philosophy, but before you can understand, the techniques are the fun stuff, right? That's what everybody wants to do.
But I'll give you one that just happened right now.
Yeah.
Here's one that just happened.
All right, what just happened?
You just said, I think it's more important that you ask questions. And I could have said, why? But instinctively I said, tell me. Now, that's a subtle psychological difference.
Yeah.
Because tell me is the same thing as why, but tell me is more from an authoritative position than why.
Right, well, and why is a little bit more combative.
Go with that.
Yeah, like why are you wearing that shirt? You're like,
Because I like it.
Whoa,
It
whoa,
matches,
whoa,
damn
whoa,
it.
whoa,
It
whoa.
matches. I don't
Now
care what
it's
Chris
like-
says.
Now I'm back in the conversation.
I don't
Why
care-
are you wearing that shirt?
Why are you wearing? No, he's back.
Why are you putting
Now
on
I'm
those
back with
sunglasses?
that. This is bullshit.
I just got off Facebook and Instagram to get in this conversation.
God, you know what? You don't get off Facebook and Instagram for much, but thank you very much for that, Chris.
It
I
deserves
appreciate
my
that.
attention.
Yeah, there we go.
Answer the question.
Okay.
Why are you wearing that shirt?
Dude.
Why?
Dude.
All right.
All right.
he loves his shirt.
That was
No
that
doubt.
was
I
a
like
fight.
it, man.
No
I'm
doubt.
not
It was a
hating on
fight.
his shirt.
All right. Cool.
I'm not hating on it either.
All right, I was a little scared. I'm gonna go home and change.
So anyways, so I think that there's a few more reasons why you ask questions.
Okay.
I think another one is there's parameters around how you can answer a question. And here's what I mean by that. Like if I'm like, hey man, what are you doing after this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
You can give me a variety of answers that have to do with, I don't know, going to Starbucks and getting a coffee,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe getting some work done, doing some calls. You can't be like, I like elephants, right? Like that makes no sense.
I do.
You're no longer.
I
you're not-
do. Ask him. I do.
You look. I saw
I
that.
do. Yeah.
That-
I do. Yeah.
Intuitively,
Just
I need
yeah.
to say elephants.
Yeah.
No,
Elephants are cool. I saw rhinoceroses this weekend, by the way.
rhinoceros.
Yeah, rhinoceroses.
It's actually a
I
trigger
like-
word for him. If you say it 3 times in a row, see what he does.
I turned to him a cheering candidate.
I don't know.
And then
how I
boom.
do that.
Anyway, yeah.
Elephants.
Dude, no, it's rhinoceroses.
Uh,
Anyway,
Alright.
keep going. Sorry,
I'll
didn't mean to take you off your track.
Well, see, then you're no longer answering the question that I've just asked.
You didn't ask me a question though.
No, I did. So if I said, "What are you doing after
No, you said
this?"
if. I said that's a buffer.
I'm
That's
not-
a sales technique, by the way. A
Yeah,
buffer.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
So if I say that, I'm just giving you an example here.
Okay.
I'm not asking anything. And you say, I like elephants. You're no longer answering the question that I've just asked, right? So there's parameters on how you can answer a question and still be answering my question. In other words, you can't answer out of left field and still be answering my question, which means that you can
I
kind of control the direction of the
disagree.
conversation.
Well, I disagree because I won't say that most people don't, but the ones
Well,
that
if
do
you're
are the
trained-
coolest
if you're-
ones in the world.
Yeah,
The
well-
ones that are the coolest,
Well,
man.
if you're trained on it, you can. Like,
If somebody says, "Hey, what are you doing after this?" I'm like, "Potato chips are amazing," and then you're
Well,
just
yeah.
like, "What? What does
Oh,
that
yeah,
have to
yeah,
do with
that-
anything?"
that's
Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
I
Sorry,
understand.
I'm gonna throw you off.
That's
man.
going to end up being a small percent of the population.
Yeah,
Tiny,
exactly.
tiny
Yeah.
from the trained and tiny from
Right.
the person that's just
Right.
going to throw you into that field.
Yeah, either the guy that's just
So small.
a little out there, or the guy that's really smart. But those are the only times you're going to get those answers. So
Probably
there's
the same guy.
there's very
And that's why what we were talking about earlier about the crazy.
right. So there's parameters on how you can answer a question for the most part. All right. Obviously, there's out there cases like we just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
but because there's parameters around it, you can control the direction that conversation is leading to some degree.
Give me an example.
Okay, well, like let's say, let's think of something that we disagree on.
Okay,
I'll
give me
do
something
it
that you
naturally.
give me something, and I'll play
Or you
the
know
I'll
what?
play the
You know what?
advocate. Go.
No.
Go.
I know what I'm gonna do.
Go.
At some point in this conversation, I'm gonna use it on you without you knowing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I'm gonna call it out.
Bring it.
I'm gonna call it out.
Okay, so go.
All right. Well, no, I'm still talking about my questions.
All right, I'm confused now.
So the parameters
easy
of my
that
question,
was.
you can control where the conversation goes to some degree, right? Because there's parameters on how you can answer a question.
Okay.
Number two, I think that you're leading them to their own conclusion, which is right along
You just
with that.
threw in
You're
numbers.
getting-
Yeah, keep going.
I did throw a number.
Yeah, you're good.
Number 3.
The third one.
Number 3 is you're gathering more info. You're making fun,
Alright.
really?
I don't know what he's doing. That's why.
Either you're
Well, no, I'm
fun or
making. No, I'm
you're
not
really into math today.
Dude, I've got math. I can count to 5.
He watched
without-
the podcast on math this morning.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
so
was good.
he's got numbers flying around
Yeah,
there.
Einstein's.
3.
Yeah.
I can
Closes
say
his
3.
eyes and
How does that
everything.
go?
3.
3 again. Dude, we're gonna get letters.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not socially.
I went to go
acceptable for
see
you
Joe
do that.
Rogan, and he made fun of that.
What?
It was amazing.
What?
I went to see Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You know who Joe Rogan is?
Oh, yeah.
He's a comedian. Other than podcasts, he's a big-time comedian.
yeah.
And I watched him, and he was making fun of the word retard.
Confidence without clarity is a disaster. You ever seen those guys who are like, hey, fake it till you make it? Yeah, no, don't fake it till you make it. You can't. Confidence without clarity is an absolute disaster. It's like, hey, you know what? Who's going to go beat that tiger? And the guy goes, I'll do it. You're toast, man. You got confidence, but you ain't going to make it. You're not going to. I'm going to put $20 on the
Yeah,
tiger.
you don't want to be that guy.
On the
You don't wanna be
tiger
that
all
guy.
day
I
long.
have no
Anyway,
idea where
back-
that came from. Zero idea. Zero idea.
That's
No
Boom,
idea.
just like that. 3. Where are we at?
Donkeys.
Yeah, he made me forget.
How did you go to donkeys?
How did you go to where you went?
Dude, I don't know.
See?
All right, go.
You made me forget that.
It's kind of
We were on
unfair to
number-
Mateo, man.
Yeah.
Kind of
It's
part
a
of the
little unfair to
plan.
Mateo.
Kind of part of the plan.
We were on number 3,
Yes.
and I believe that was you can collect data off of them, right?
Collect
so,
data, got
so
it.
when you're talking to somebody, yeah.
People
No, just
walking
people
by.
are walking by. Just
Oh,
walking
gotcha.
by. We gotta be social.
So number 3, you're collecting data on them. You're learning more about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's telling less about you. That could be number 4, right? Because if you're asking the questions, you're not giving them a whole lot of information. You're taking information. And another one is just people love to talk about themselves. It's their favorite thing to talk about, right?
Oh, that's
why-
good. That's
I
good.
love
That's
it.
good. Yeah,
I
that's
love
good,
it.
right?
I love it.
That's
why
good.
I-
I tell everybody, you know what your
That's
favorite
gold.
topic is? You know what your favorite topic is?
Oh yeah, that's why I talk for a living.
It's you. Yeah, your favorite topic is you.
Yeah.
I get people get pissed off when I say that. They're like, "No, I don't care about me. That would be self-centered." I'm like, "Nah." They're like, "I like my kids." I'm like, "No, you like your kids."
I like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, you like your Joe Rogan.
I got my own Joe Rogan.
Dude, you're moving up.
Oh, shit, this is
You got your own
awesome.
Joe Rogan. Dude,
Yeah.
you're gonna get sued for using his name too much.
Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan.
I know how the SEO works, and I know how
I'm
the
going to
bots.
boost his podcast.
You're good. Yeah,
listeners.
you know what? He needs your listeners too.
He needs me.
Yep, that's what
And
I'm
I
thinking.
need him.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, that was it.
Oh.
And then what Lee said. So I think that there's multiple reasons why
did I
you
say?
ask questions.
You said I had my own Joe Rogan.
You do.
Thank you.
Yeah, he said a lot about rhinoceroses.
Yeah, what's up with
something
that?
about it. Hey,
Oh,
you
hey.
guys, you guys need to. Yeah, you guys.
a lot about the abyss.
The abyss.
The abyss.
Look
Which
into the
I
abyss,
assume
and the
you mean
abyss
like-
stares back.
It's ambiguous, meaning that it's not clear, so you can kind of draw up from it what you want.
So the abyss, look into the depth of the ocean at its darkest spot. And you look and you can see a little bit, but then all of a sudden everything goes dark, but there's unlimited amount
Well, I'm
out
aware
there.
of what an abyss is. I was just wondering how you were using
I
it.
was trying to be the dictionary for the moment, and I was like, hey, you know what the abyss is? That's it.
When you said
I
dictionary,
saw
you
the
mean
movie.
just the
I saw
first 3
movie.
letters? Just trying to
What?
be a dictionary?
Abyss is more than, it's not IBIS.
Okay.
3 letters.
That's 4.
First
That's what
3
I
letters
told
of
him. Yeah,
dictionary.
we were at 4 too, by the way. He went 1, 2, 3, 4. We
Did
stopped
you
at
get
4.
that?
Yeah.
What?
Never mind.
Yeah, he didn't.
Show tech guy.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
back.
Show tech guy.
Okay.
I told him he needed to bring it back.
Moving along.
What
So,
do you want to know? I'll let. I've been controlling too much.
have you?
You ask me the questions now.
Let's do a role play. Let's do a role play.
Okay, role play. Go. I'll be the referee.
I'm going to do a cold call to Lee.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you are going to stop me
When you do
during this
something wrong.
cold call, and you're going to correct what
Ready,
I
set,
should be doing, and this is
100%.
going to let the audience know where your specialty.
I love
like
it.
that.
Go.
Sound good?
I like
Okay,
that.
ring.
Ready, set. Hello.
Hi, this is Chris with New American Funding. I'm a loan officer. Our rates are really low. We're
Stop.
okay. So how would you?
So one thing is at the very beginning of a conversation, I like to, and this is everybody's preference because I know that you're a more upbeat guy,
Mm-hmm.
so that might work for you. What I like to do is I like to slow it down
Okay.
at the very beginning when you first get on a phone call. The
Okay.
reason being is what are you communicating by talking really quick? Well, you're either communicating that you're really excited, right? Which I think is where you were coming from. But I wanted to call it out because I think most people are talking really quick because they're communicating.
I would say it's
"Please
because
don't
they're
hang up on
insecure.
me."
I think it's insecurity
Yeah.
more than
Don't,
anything.
don't hang up on me real quick.
I hate
I
doing
wanna
this.
say
I'm
as
just doing
much
my
as
hour
I
like
can.
he told me.
Right, so
Wanna get
correct
all
me
the
now.
information
So
in
now
as quick.
correct me. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, so I would slow down your cadence of speech. I would soften your voice a little bit. A lot of people think you got to talk. I have a little saying, because a lot of people think you got to talk real loud to get people's attention. I think if you talk real loud, people cover their ears. If you talk real soft, they lean in. So get them to lean in a little bit.
So what would I do?
Hey, this is Mateo. I was giving you a call because, and then go into
Okay,
it.
let's
I
try.
wouldn't even say where I'm from. Let them ask. That's them now having to ask. I mean, I know with certain companies.
And
you
don't
have
say
to
you're
do
Mateo
this.
because you're Chris.
Oh yeah, I'm Chris.
No, you're Chris. No,
I
he's
will
Chris.
follow your directions.
This is getting-
I was Chris right there.
I,
I was
whoa,
Chris.
whoa! There's
Yeah.
a fee for that.
It charges.
Okay, so here we go. Ring,
Go. Hello.
ring. Hey, this is Chris, and rates are extremely low.
Am I paying $1.99 for this?
Yeah.
A minute.
Okay, here we go. For real. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, this is Chris, and I'm calling you because rates on home mortgages right now are
Not interested.
extremely low.
Not interested. Bye.
Before you say that, I have a piece of information
Click.
to share with you.
Yeah. No, so
Yeah,
so
click.
the other thing is right out the gate, we're coming up with it feels too perfect, and when something feels too perfect, like well, hold on, stay with me.
I'm trying to stay with
Don't
you.
leave,
Yeah.
don't leave.
Nobody calls Chris perfect that often.
Well,
And then not too perfect,
No, no, no,
especially.
It's
Well,
more regular
well,
than you
I-
know.
It's like, hey, he just called you too perfect, man. This is getting weird.
Thank you.
It wasn't as complimentary as you think.
Hey, this is Chris.
Okay, go.
So,
Hey.
so when something sounds too like, I want you to picture for a second. Picture like a mattress commercial, right? It's like zero down. You don't have to pay anything
Your
for the very
mattress
first
is
year. This is
free.
it's
That guy did good.
It's the best mattress ever, right?
Okay.
You did good.
Okay.
Your brain goes. Well, I don't want to cuss in here, but your brain goes that's BS, right? It's BS. It's BS. It's BS. And the reason why is because our brains are meant to pick up issues around the world that are going on around us, right, in the world. If our brains don't pick up issues, our brain creates an issue where things are too perfect. So if you come out, you're self-validating. So validation is anytime you're trying to gain somebody's approval or not lose somebody's approval at the very beginning. So you're saying, listen, this is why I'm so great. It's like if you called a girl for a date and you're like, hey man, I just want to call, or I guess you wouldn't call her man. Hey,
I did that yesterday.
Yeah, you did?
I called a chick man. And she laughed.
That works,
She
dude.
laughed.
That's
I
one of my
meant to say
favorites.
ma'am.
The worst
But
way
I
you
said
say I love
man.
you. Like you're hanging up the phone.
Oh, I do that all the
You could
time.
lead- you could lead with that.
I do that with my clients.
Yeah,
Just
so
call
your
up and say,
clients, somebody-
hey, I love you, babe. Can we go on a date?
Well, so yeah, you wouldn't call her up and be like, hey, I'm a loan officer.
And I love you.
I,
Sorry.
I talk about X, Y, and Z.
And
do
I love
this.
you.
I got a podcast that's super cool. I even got,
I'm kind of a big deal.
I get millennials.
I have 4 episodes, bro. 4.
Bro. I'm smoking
I'm not
everybody with
just.
3.
I'm not just anybody.
I'm smoking everybody with 3 episodes right now. Done.
So the reason you don't say that is because it comes off needy, right? You're like, I'm trying to prove myself to you. And it's the same thing when you go, hey, home loans are whatever you said. I forgot exactly what you said. I already forgot it.
Okay, so here's a question. I'm trying to
Interest rates, whatever you're talking
If I
about.
knew their
It's in
name-
MySpace.
for the audience. If
Yeah.
I knew their name, should I use their name?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because everybody's name's their favorite word to some degree, right? Unless you have a really, unless your name's a little Puchacho or something, I don't know. Then that's unfortunate.
Okay.
And I like your name too much. My
Pochancho.
Get some.
Puchacho?
No, Puchacho.
Puchacho.
That's gonna be my firstborn's name. He's
All
gonna-
right.
Promise?
You're
Oh, yeah.
going to be in trouble, man.
Oh, yeah,
Because
it's
when he
got-
grows up,
It's gonna
you
build
better hope he's
character.
not 6'2". Because he's
build
going
character, yeah.
he's gonna beat
It's gonna
your
build-
ass.
Oh yeah.
Dad,
Puchacho. Puchacho.
I heard that podcast in 2019, and I know you planned this out for 40 years.
I did.
Time to pay the price.
I did. My future wife. That's. we
That's
have
her name
to
too?
agree- No.
I know mine. I know mine. I know
That's
her
her
name.
name. Like, hey.
We have to agree upon that before getting married. Otherwise, it's not. Puchacho,
All right,
firstborn.
that's okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
So where were we, Chris? Talk.
Okay, so I'm making a phone call.
Yep.
All right.
Ring, ring.
Bye.
Hey, Lee, this is Chris Dominguez. I needed to call you right now because...
Chris. Do I know you?
Yeah, it's Chris Dominguez. Dominguez.
All right, talk to me.
I'm calling you because you have a 4.6 interest rate, and I could save you hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars a year today by just making a quick switch. Do you have about 30 seconds so I can share that with you?
You're still the guy calling saying, hey, go on a date with me because I do X, Y, and Z. Hey, have you seen how much I made last year? You should definitely go on a date with me.
That works, by the way.
He uses it every day.
It works.
He's like, hey, do you know
It
I'm a
works.
big deal? He says, I'm kind of a big deal.
I have 3 episodes of podcast.
And I don't know if that's that funny anymore.
Yeah.
Showtech guy's
Showtech
laughing.
guy, you're right. I'm not gonna lie. He laughed. Well, let's go to. Is that funny?
Mateo's laughing right
She's
now.
funny. All right, go ahead. All right, cool. I'm just
Okay,
off
so
that
it's
train.
still too much bragging is what you're saying.
Yeah, so start off with a question. Or start off...
All right, here we go. Let's do it
You
again.
brought up pattern interrupts earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great way to start off.
Okay.
Hand me a tablet.
So one of the things that I teach is initiator versus responder dynamic, which is where, so when we first meet somebody,
Mm-hmm.
our brains are trying to figure out what are the patterns at play with this person,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do we associate ourselves with this person? And over time, those patterns tend to grow. Like, for instance, if you bought your wife flowers every single day from the day you met her for like 6 years, what happens the day you don't get her flowers?
You're toast.
Oh, yeah.
You are up
Oh,
the
yeah.
creek.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'm writing down every single thing that you've corrected me on.
Okay.
I'm trying to write them down.
All right.
So I have speed. You corrected
Yeah.
my speed. I should throw his name in there.
Yeah.
What else have you told me to do?
Well, I'm in the middle of telling you one more.
The third one?
You're in
Okay.
the middle of it.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm in the middle of it.
Hey, hey, don't.
Dude, I'm in the middle of it. Don't
Hey.
interrupt.
Hey.
I'm in the middle.
Weird. That got weird real fast. Chris is. Never mind. Go. Sorry.
This must be a 1955 joke because I don't get it.
Oh, come on.
Mateo's lost too.
All right, yeah, that's okay.
Oh, I'm a little lost.
He's kind of flowing with the punches.
I'm,
We're throwing a lot at this
He's like,
young
this
kid,
is not
man.
my path.
We're throwing a lot.
He's like, this is not my path, guys.
Do it. Throw
Uh,
punches my
we're
way.
working on the next one. What would you call it? So I can
Initiator versus responder.
help. Okay,
So
if I see that on paper, I don't know what
I
to do.
versus
I versus you?
no, I versus R. So initiator versus responder. So there's somebody initiating topics of conversation. There's somebody that's in constant response. So it's basically about being unreactive and to the things that they're saying directly, unless it goes in alignment with your frame, and you creating the topics that you want to go further on and talk about. Yeah, I'll get into it because that sounded way too long, and that was pretty.
Yeah, I don't
I've
know
had
what to
3
do.
cups of coffee, so.
He's
All right.
all jacked up on
Oh,
Mountain
yeah.
Dew, man.
Oh, yeah, I had to keep up with this guy.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Heroin.
dude, heroin. You want some?
That
Kip happens to be the number one salesman in this
He's
area.
a great salesman
Yeah.
for heroin.
The-
He's not good at anything else. He tried real estate. He tried stocks. Nothing worked. Heroin, boom, he's in it.
Number one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, we'll talk.
No, we're kidding. No, he doesn't sell heroin.
No.
Just for the record, FBI.
Do
he
not
doesn't
go
really
to
sell
Kip's
heroin.
house. There's no heroin.
There's no heroin under his bed in the drawer.
Individually bagged.
Individually bagged, ready to go. There's no heroin. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, we keep interrupting.
Not we, you.
Me?
I'm trying to write notes.
Dude, I'm being quiet. Right?
All right. So, initiator versus responder. So, all it is talking about whatever you want to talk about at the very beginning of the conversation. So, you're choosing what sort of topics are at play there. And I didn't finish the wife thing. So, you get your wife flowers every single day for 5 years. You don't get her flowers, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Versus the guy who never gets her flowers for 5 years. The day he gets her flowers, he's a hero.
Yep.
Right? One requires far less work and you're praised for it. The other is far more work and you get in trouble for it. So what that is to say is that when we first meet people, we're establishing patterns. And those patterns that our brain establishes makes it easier for us to figure out and navigate the world. And so our brain loves these patterns and it becomes expectation. That's why you don't have to come in and it's all subconscious. Like you don't have to come in and examine a chair to figure out its use, right? Like maybe I've never seen this very chair that I'm sitting in ever, as far as I know.
I
Maybe
disagree. We sat in this
And that's
room
right.
a
That's
couple
right.
weeks
Okay.
ago, and you probably looked at all the chairs. Unless you purposefully did not look at the chairs, in which case...
Well,
you're
well,
just
no,
not-
no, no. Maybe he didn't see that one.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, we don't know. We can't prove
There's
that,
13
huh?
other ones he could have seen.
So we're going to rest in the could maybe
I'm gonna
not
trust
be
you're
true.
telling me the truth.
Okay, me too. I'm going to trust. We're going to go with it. Go. You've never seen that chair. Go.
You're screwing up my whole thing.
I believe you.
Sorry.
So you don't have to examine a chair to figure out its use every time you walk into a room because your subconscious already saved that form as, okay, well, that basic form looks kind of like a chair, so it must be used for sitting, right? Most of the time.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
I feel like Lee doesn't use it for that.
No, or kids.
But, yeah, or kids. But it's most commonly used for sitting, so you sit down and you don't have to think about it, you don't have to
Yep.
examine it. Well, it's the same thing when we're first meeting somebody. A lot of people are always focused on the close. I think the very beginning is really important as well. I think the very beginning of conversation is super important because you are laying down the foundation that is of patterns that are likely to grow over a period of time. Like, it becomes an expectation over that period of time when you're getting the flowers every day and you don't get the flower, and it becomes an expectation if you've never gotten flowers and one day you get flowers, right?
All philosophical. Give me something I can use.
Well, Phyllis, that's the best thing that you could use, right?
Well, but you told me a nice philosophy, like, hey, guess what? If you're in
Oh,
touch
and
with
I'm getting,
nature.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was understanding that I was teaching you the
Okay.
philosophy
Good.
because most
Got it.
people just tell you the little technique, and that's really fun. It's a lot more sexy than telling the philosophy. But if you don't understand how it works and why it works, you don't use it in the right areas, and you become. So that's what I was talking about when I say how to think, not what to think. You become dependent and reliant on other people. Or the person that's feeding you all this information to know when to use it in little specific scenarios because you don't know the greater philosophy, so you don't know how to use it on your own and how to mold it. You're just regurgitating information. You're mimicking somebody. And so I teach the person how to fish as opposed to catching a fish for them, that old little
Okay,
saying.
still philosophical. Give me some.
Okay.
Or give him some.
So, initiator versus responder. Anything where you are initiating the conversational dynamic that you want to start in. So at the very beginning, the one that I gave you, it's also off of the POUR method, but that's one. Hey, I don't have a whole bunch of time to talk right now, but I wanted to give you a call. And then you ask a question. No self-explanation. So not why I'm the best, not why your company sold the most, X, Y, and Z. You ask them a question. And the question should be something that's going to pique interest a little bit. And you do that by doing a pattern interrupt. So a pattern interrupt, Lee already talked about it a little bit, or you mentioned it. A pattern interrupt is anything that's outside the realm of what would normally be expected within that context, right? So it piques your interest because you see it and you say, that didn't fit there, right? So ask a question that's kind of a little bit of a pushback even. So like, hey, I saw your home came off the market. Are you, no, I just thought of a better one as I was saying that because this one's on one of my scripts. I'll give it a little freebie here. So let's say you're calling it expired, right? You're talking to them. The very first question after you say, hey, I don't have a whole lot of time to talk, the very first question you ask is, are you at the point where you want to give up on the sale of your property altogether?
Okay.
Well, what's the likely response? No,
Yeah.
I don't want to give up, right? So give up is put in there because that's universally, everybody thinks of give up. We're taught not to give up to some degree, right? And you're saying it in a way that breaks through the
Pause.
initial.
I had to hit the pause button.
On the cameras or on me?
What are you talking about?
On me?
You guys understand the concept of pause? It means everybody stops.
Oh.
Pause. Every once in a while, I feel something that's just powerful. And what you brought up is very powerful. Just the one thing. I'm telling you, the one thing in this whole conversation so far, the one thing that I grabbed is the word give up. Because that is so powerful. And I'll give you an example. The most powerful word in the human language. What is it?
Well, I know what I would probably think.
Go.
Most powerful word I would say is no.
Okay. No's easy.
I think no.
No, I agree. I disagree. The most powerful word is but. Easily the most powerful word in the human language.
Why?
Because I could
Tell
say,
me I'm
okay.
already using your techniques.
Because
Tell me more.
yeah, that's good. Tell me. So, I could say, Mateo, you're great. You're a good kid. You're young. It looks like your thing is going good, and everything looks really, really good. And you laid down some really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
But the minute I say but, everything in front of it is erased. Doesn't matter anymore.
I agree.
So,
But I wouldn't
but
say it's
is a very power. If you don't know how to use but,
yeah.
if you do not use it, and people use it wrong all the time, but if you use it strategically, such a powerful word because it erases everything. It erases everything. This guy's such a good guy. He really is a good guy. He's going places. But I just said, you're not going anywhere. By just saying one word, one little, just but. Okay, so the reason I said powerful is really know how to use it.
Yeah.
Super powerful, but one that I just grabbed that I did not have before this conversation, give up.
Yeah, or fair. I just want a fair shot.
Fair is a
Fair.
powerful word?
Oh yeah. Well, because if you say a fair, nobody likes to be unfair, right? Hey, listen, all I'm asking for is a fair shot. Well, the underlying implication there is that if you don't give me a shot, you're being unfair. It's the same philosophy as giving up, in the term that we're all taught to be fair. We're all taught not to give up.
Perhaps we see the word give up different, because I think
They're little emotional spikes.
if you, Chris, are you done looking for that $1 billion status? Did you give up?
No.
Power, see? You're instinctive. You have to come out of the gate. Is it fair to say you've given up on the $1 billion status?
No.
So giving up, that give up. I just want to put that out there because as you're talking, I'm looking for anything. Dude, I'm looking for something I can use. And that's the first thing I've got is something I can use is the give up. Everything so far.
I think that, okay, as far as practicality and
Okay.
usage, sure, maybe that's one of the little techniques that's,
For me,
that's
yeah,
been
yeah,
the best
good.
so far.
Yeah.
I think that the philosophy behind it is so much more valuable, even though it's not as sexy, and I know we want to get listeners, so we want to be a little bit, we want to give them...
Well, that's like me trying to teach the kid how the iPad works. But if I give them the iPad and they start having fun with it, maybe they'll learn how it works, but nonetheless, they'll still be able to use it. So there's a difference
Right.
between the philosophy. Not
Right.
everybody's going to learn philosophy. Not everybody knows how their car works. I know a lot of my friends who hop in, put the key in, turn it, and they go. They don't have a clue that there's a internal combustion engine and a
That's
transmission
me.
system.
Me, I have no
Cool.
clue.
So do you want to learn all about your car so that you can really learn how to use your car? No.
0%.
Zero.
No, but I think that this is
You see
different
what you just
because
said, but?
Yeah, but
But
I think that this is different because not everybody needs to know how to use a car. Everybody needs to know to some degree how to talk. And I think that it's important because it's
you're
important
inferring
to-
that people don't know how to talk if they don't know these techniques?
I'm inferring that people are having the wrong conversations if they don't have these techniques.
I think you're both inferring a whole lot.
I know there's a lot of inferring going on right now.
Well, I can back
No,
up.
no,
Inferno!
I'm
Sorry.
serious. I agree with
Yeah.
his assessment of what he just said, but I also agree with the. Well, you didn't bring
You're
it
just
up.
agreeable to
But
it,
I
man.
think
That's
the
it.
but I have struggled. I've struggled with that for a long time because the only people who understand that are the people that know. The only person it's going to work on is the person who knows. The only person I use it on, him, because nobody else knows.
No, it's blind. Everybody else is blind
That's
to
what
it,
I
but
mean,
can
so
do
it's
it.
not
They have no
effective.
clue. Just like, no, it is effective. It's really just like asking a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Most
they-
people
it's
don't know I'm
effective.
controlling the conversation.
They don't know that everything you just said was erased. They
Correct.
have no clue.
It's stealth. It's
But it-
awesome.
You've done
It's
something
powerful.
for you,
But
not
it's
for
still-
them.
No,
It
it
still
still
erases.
it still
So-
erases it. See,
So you're still getting the use out of it. But no, here's what I mean.
you said, "Buddy, again."
Here's what I mean.
Cool.
So, let's say you have a husband and wife, right?
Okay.
Husband comes back late from work.
Mhm.
Wife gets mad.
Okay.
And says, "Hey, you said you were going to be here on time,
Mhm.
right?" And he says, there's traffic on the freeway." She said, "I looked it up. There was no traffic on the freeway."
Got it.
And now they're going back and forth arguing about traffic.
Mhm.
You're having the wrong conversation, perhaps, because most likely it's more about, well, perhaps she feels like she's not getting enough time. Perhaps she's scared of infidelity. Arguing about traffic on the freeway, you're not having the right conversation, right? And most people so there's different levels of communication. There's the direct communication, which is the words that are being said, which is where most people stay. There's the secondary communication, which is the sub-communication. That's all the body language, the tonality, the cadence, and all that. There's the underlying implications, which what those two things added together are implying. And then you got the framework, you have the presuppositions, and things of that nature. But most people just stay at that that direct communication. You said this, and I say this.
I'm going to say this to a 22-year-old. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're saying that whatever the wife is talking to you about isn't really what she's talking to you about? Shocker. Oh my God. Kip, are you ready to take this down?
So are you going to teach everyone to speak woman?
Oh, look
no,
out.
no, no,
You're going to get more letters, dude.
No.
Oh,
You're
I
not
love
gonna get
letters.
You're not going to get any more.
Do they know I don't know how to
No.
read?
So you're talking. I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
that's you're talking about a whole psychological situation, a whole framework. And yes, if you're wondering whether or not the topic that people are talking about is not necessarily the topic, of course that's a given. But in the sales process, you can't worry about what's happening with the wife and the husband at home because I can't deal with that.
You're looking at the specifics of the situation. I was meaning to take it as you're often having the wrong conversation. So I can easily apply this to business. Say somebody says, hey, will you list my home? They're talking to a real estate agent. Will you list my home for 1% commission? What does a real estate agent do? Well, if you're a Tom Ferry, I don't even know what his things are. You go on to say, geez, what is his response?
Well, forget what his response. What's your response? You see how I just saved you there, by the way?
Well, I didn't need to say
Because
that.
if you land up misquoting him, you're gonna land up the wrong creek.
I prefaced it by saying I don't really know exactly what he says, but he addresses
That's like me
the concern
prefacing saying, "Hey, Chris, I'm not responsible if I punch you in the head. I'm still responsible. Still responsible. Even just because I said it doesn't mean I'm not."
He addresses the surface level conversation. What you have to do is you have to figure out what's being implied. What's the frame behind that? Well, what they're essentially saying is they want to walk out with the most amount of money possible, a certain amount of money, and the way to do so is by taking out of your commission. So how do we do this? We reframe that conversation. We say, all right, what do I need to walk away, or what do you need to walk away with at the end of this transaction in order for this to make sense for you? And now we've reframed it and said, okay, no, the money comes from the end. You still same amount of money, same result. We took care of this issue by not even addressing it. And we would have had the wrong conversation had we gone into addressing that by saying, hey, I only do 2.5% commission, or I only do 3%, right? You're having the wrong conversation.
So let me throw an if then in there, okay?
Everywhere.
Let me throw an if then.
Conversations.
If I give you all the money that you want at the bottom line, do you care? Then
good.
Do you care how much I make?
That's the same. So,
But
that's a good one.
I mean, real simply, if I give you all the money that you want, you give me that number, and I get you that. Do you care how much I make, or not make? Do you care how much I make?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
You care how much I make?
Lee, I want the best for you.
No. If I give you all the money,
He's just like your mom.
3% done. Yeah, you're right. I want the 3%. You're right. I want the best for you. I want the best for me too. The established amount is 3%. You said you want the best for me, yes?
Huh?
Okay, good deal. So we're good on 3%. Sold. That's a close, by the way. If somebody gives me that, it's instinctive. I'll push back.
Yeah.
But if to what you
Right.
just said,
Right, well,
hey, but you're going to have a big framework around something that doesn't even need that framework.
Well, we did the same thing. All we did was we changed the frame of the conversation. That's all we did. You did the same thing that I did. You just went about it a different way. I think your way was 100% fine. And it's not a huge thing. All I said was, what do you need to walk away with at the end of the transaction in order for it to make sense? And it's not like crazy difficult.
So my way is right between the eyes. If I give you everything you ever wanted, everything, do you care how much I make or I don't make?
I'd have to test it. But
So that's an if-then close. And I'm telling you, those are, when you ask me something I can
close
use.
with that,
If
but I like
I
that.
do it all the time.
I wouldn't close with that, but I like it.
love it.
Oh, well, what I do is I don't close people. I let people close themselves on me. I'll push back. I'll say,
Okay.
listen, I'm a young guy. I charge a lot of money. Why would you even consider going with me? And you'd think they're just like, no, we wouldn't, right? There's a little bit of Chris Voss philosophy here. But what they do is they start saying, well, listen, we've seen what you've done.
He likes Chris Voss.
Yeah, I love Chris Voss. He's a good guy. I don't know him personally.
Yes, you
but
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you being honest?
You know Chris Voss?
You know Chris Voss. Voss.
You mean the FBI negotiator
Yes.
that goes on tour?
Yes.
No, I don't have a clue what it is.
Okay. Lead us.
Okay.
Moving on.
So, anyways, he threw me off a little bit there. So, what they start saying, what they start saying, I'm about to prove you wrong. That's fine.
All right, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
I like
I
it.
actually really liked yours. I really did. I think that it was a really good way of going about it. But the way I would close is by saying, listen, why would you go with me? And I actually named 2 objections beforehand. Like I just said,
So
that they would have.
if you were
I'm a young
and if
guy,
you were
I
talking
charge
to
a
me,
lot
I
of
would go,
money.
yeah. Why would I? Tell me.
Yeah, but nobody ever does that if you get that, response,
Mm-hmm.
that's an indicator you haven't done the other steps properly. You haven't gained the rapport. You haven't pushed back enough that they're now wanting to. So this gets into something else, the pursuer-distancer dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
You started as the pursuer, you want to end the distancer, so now they're pursuing you to some degree. That's the philosophy that my sales kind of works around. So you want to become the distancer. Now they're pursuing you a little bit, and when you do that pushback, they're trying to gain validation because you've been doing things like CCR method, complement retraction. You've been taking that validation away.
At a low level person, I would agree with you. But at a CEO level, which by the way, I'm gonna clear it up real quick. CEO. A lot of kids, a lot of millennials like their own, hey, I'm the CEO. And I'm an old school stockbroker. I got trained on real corporations. Most people do not know what CEO is. Not that they do not know what the word stands for. Everybody knows it stands for Chief Executive Officer. What it means is you've got a corporation big enough that you have multiple offices. In other words, operations officer, you've got a whole bunch of different officers, financial officer, and then there is a chief officer that is in charge of those. And below the chief executive officer, there's a president.
Yeah.
So when people walk around going, hey, I'm the CEO, I'm like, that's so cute. It is so cute. Because if you actually understand business and someone's walking around going, hey, I'm the CEO, it's clear.
You
It's
just call me
hilarious.
cute?
No, I don't know. That's
I-
weird.
He does that.
I got a little weird, but
said-
that I see it.
I
You
see
see,
it.
you see, he took me off track there.
Yeah.
Boom.
And he asked you a question, and you responded.
That's pretty good. Yeah. That's not.
Now he's
don't
figured
lie.
you're his puppet, man.
Dude, I'm a puppet. You guys, I am under your control.
Come on, puppet
Mateo.
master.
So,
I am
anyways,
under
so
your
you
control.
push back by saying, hey, why me? And what the typical response you get is they say, well, hey, listen, we've seen what you've done in other businesses. We know that your teaching philosophy is a little bit different from the, yes man, I call it woo-woo. I don't know what the correct terminology for it would be, but, the super motivational stuff. Fine, I don't do that. But I don't have anything against it. I just don't do it. Anyways, so they start telling me why they want to go with me, and then it's like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right, I guess sign it.
Yeah.
How much? It's 20 grand. I got nothing to do with it.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, right? And I let them convince themselves as to why they want to go. Because, and it's, in my opinion, that's a perfect way of going about it for a few reasons. One, it puts you in a position where you're not becoming the interviewer, you're the expert in your little field, whatever that is. And you're acting as if an expert would act, right? Like if you were the expert, let's say, what's your favorite, who's your favorite celebrity?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Okay, if you were to call Joe Rogan to be on this podcast, he wouldn't be like, hey man, please let me on this podcast because I don't know if you've seen my numbers lately, they've been really good.
I got 3 podcasts.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to self-validate because the guy's already validated, right? See, that's the problem.
So you want to be on his, is what you're saying. Yeah, I got it.
What I'm saying here is you don't have to self-validate and you don't have to get braggy if you really are all those things that you're saying you are. That happens from a lack of confidence, I think.
I tell people that all the time.
We're talking about Margaret Thatcher.
I tell them, yeah, if you're, what is it? If
Do you
you
know
have
it?
to tell people you're a
What is
lady.
Margaret
Not.
Thatcher. You know who Margaret Thatcher is?
What?
Do you know who Margaret Thatcher is?
Margaret? No.
Okay, so she's the Prime Minister of England.
Okay.
England?
Let's just stay with that.
Britain?
Yeah.
Is it Britain? England? Okay. Europe? Help me.
Great Britain.
Huh?
Great Britain.
Great Britain. Okay.
UK.
So Prime Minister of Great Britain.
Yeah.
She's already passed.
You're wrong.
But she had made a statement saying, if you have to tell people that you're a lady, you're not a lady. So it's going to what you're saying.
I like that.
And one of the things I teach is I say, hey, listen, if you're learning from somebody, you should learn somebody current in the field right now. Because somebody who used to do it back in their day and
Not the
cannot
same.
do it right
Yeah.
now, I tell them, listen, I sell every single day. Many
Right.
times I get put on the spot and they say, hey, listen, do you need to prepare? I said, no, I don't need to prepare.
Sure.
Why? That's like asking a boxer who's currently boxing, do you need to get ready to go? No, I'm ready now. That's what I do for a living.
Well,
I
boxers,
sell for a living.
They do go and get ready to fight. They go through camps.
Yeah. But if you ask him during the time when he's ready, if you just say, hey, listen, you ready to box? If you have a situation, he's ready, as long as he's got the clothes on, right? He's ready to box. He's ready to box. And a salesman is ready to sell. And a lot of people say, well, back in my day, this is what used to work. And I don't give a shit. I tell them, I don't care.
Right.
I don't really care. Right now, today, right now.
Yeah.
I will close loans today, right now, because that's a loan officer. That's what I do. I will sell today. Somebody will give me some type of issue. I will handle it today. I do not have to prepare. And many times, in fact, that same office that you were talking about, they said, hey, you want to do a cold call in front of everybody? And I said, sure, let's do it. And they said, you need to prepare? And I said, no. Just tell me what you want the objective to
Yeah.
be, and then just go.
Yeah.
And you'll see me. I close my eyes, and I go, okay, cool, because I'm looking to feel it. And
Yeah, I noticed you close your eyes a lot there.
I do. Bruce Lee said, Bruce Lee, I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
He says, when you're trained properly, you don't hit. It hits all by itself.
I agree. So, then why would we add all that extra fluff in at the very beginning? You know, we were the top salesman this year. We did this and this, right? Like I felt like I feel like most salesmen do that, and it felt like that's where Chris was going with it. I'm not sure that's.
Well, I don't know where he's going with
I
it.
don't
We didn't
wanna
get
confuse
anywhere.
it.
We kept stopping him.
Yeah. Okay, continue, Chris. I don't think I got off. Like,
Are
half this
you
stuff. We
are you
kept on
still
getting-
rolling on this thing?
Being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell
anybody
people you are,
you're
you
not.
aren't.
Amen.
Powerful. I like that.
Yep.
There it is.
And that's
Boom.
that's all, by the way, being in charge.
Yeah.
If you have to tell everybody you're in charge, you're not. You're really not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you can tell. You can always sit into a situation with enough people, and you just
Yeah.
know these things instinctively.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. So instead of having to say all those things outright, why don't you just act in a manner that conveys that, right? Why don't you paint that image in their head versus telling them outright? And a lot of the times, if you paint that image in their head, they'll actually dramatize just how special you are. And what I mean by this is, like, for instance, if somebody says, "How much money do you make?" And you say, "Oh, I make a ton of money. I make a ridiculous amount," right? Versus, "I do all right."
That's
Right? The other one.
That's the right answer, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the right
I
answer.
do all right.
Yeah.
A little chuckle in there.
Yeah.
Right? What do people do? They start assuming, right?
It's the abyss.
And their own brains will take them far more than you ever could. So the abyss. I like how you say abyss. I like that. I mean, I say, leave it ambiguous, but I like abyss. I think abyss is a little bit more visual, which I like. Okay, continue with your cold call.
Okay, so so far I have speed, name,
Yeah.
not a whole bunch of time, and give up. Those are the 4 things you given me, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
give up was part of the initiator versus responder dynamic, as well as it's a preemptive objection role reversal. But we want to do more of those at the very beginning, so that we're starting off the conversation. We're setting the patterns where we're in control of that conversation. So you could do a few more, like, for instance, Lee cut you off and he said something. I forgot what he said, and you responded to it.
He said not interested.
Not interested. So instead of responding directly to that, you could ask the next question and then go back to that, and then circle back. So you're not being reactive. Or you can make it into a joke. You do reductio ad absurdum. There's a number of different things that you could do, but you don't want to be in direct response to Lee, especially if Lee is not in alignment with your frame, and it sounds like he's not, because Lee's being a difficult cold call right now.
I think most cold callers are difficult, and my something I can use would be this. Hey, Chris, can I ask you one quick question before you go?
Nope.
That's it. It's over.
Well,
but out of all those, how many will say yes? Can I ask you one quick question before you go?
Everyone else but me.
Everyone else but you. And they'll say, because I asked the question, can I ask you one quick question before you go? And the key, this is all subtle. It's one quick question before you go. One quick question before you go. And Chris, can I ask you one quick question before
Sure.
you go?
What's up?
If I could give you everything you wanted selling your house, the max price that you were looking for, if I could give you that max price within 30 days, would it be worth 3 minutes of your time?
Yep.
Okay, I'll be at your house at 3 o'clock.
Oh,
I didn't invite you over. That's weird now.
I didn't like that for a few reasons. One, this can be real technical with it. But can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
I take the "can" you out. Assume that everything that you have to say is worth being said, or assume that every question.
But they're
you
about
have
to hang
ask
up
is
on you. If I
important.
lose control of that conversation,
Oh.
I'm not getting back.
I'd say, hey, quick question, and I'd go into it.
All
I
right,
would
so
act unfazed. I'm
role
not-
play on that.
You don't
Just
wanna
role
be-
play on that.
Yeah,
Just go.
don't-
Make the
don't
phone
be
call.
Reactive.
Make the phone call to him.
Well, say that you're not interested. We'll go into that.
Okay, not interested.
Okay, quick question. And then I got to think of a different question because I didn't like that question, which is what I was about to go into. So the question that you asked was along the same
That's
thing. It was
different though.
amping you
No,
up.
yours different.
How?
Here's why.
How?
Here's why. can I ask you a quick question is the question. And all I'm
Yeah, I
looking
would make
for
it
is a
I'd
quick
make it
yes or no, because
yes.
if you say quick question, immediately following that is the question. But can I ask you a quick question? The minute you say yes, I got you down for at least 10 seconds.
See,
if I
but-
just go quick question and you start asking it, you didn't get me. And you didn't get permission to move forward. Because you didn't
Yeah.
get permission to move forward, I hang up on you in a heartbeat.
Right. I wouldn't have used quick question in that circumstance probably. What I would have used is
By the way, this is a stockbroker technique. When we were calling CEOs
Yeah.
of corporations, I was a stockbroker for many years.
Yeah.
And when they were about to hang up on me, say, "Can I ask you one quick question before you go?" One quick question. And they would say, "Go, shoot."
yeah.
And I'm telling you, years of this. Can I ask you a quick question? Well, I had to dissect what you just said because I said, "Okay, is that a better way to do it?" Because in that same thing, it's ego versus logic, and I said, "Wait a minute, no.
Well,
Can I
agree-
ask you a quick question?"
I agree in that
is
in
the
that-
question.
that circumstance.
That is the question.
Well, but I would ask a different question. What I would do is I would do something. Are we good?
No, go.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're good for the moment.
What I would ask is I would ask something that is going to capture attention, that is going like a pattern interrupt, for example. Like, hey, real fast, is there anything wrong with the property that would keep it from selling? No, there's nothing wrong with my property. Right now, you got them back in that conversation, or I have zero interest.
All right, let's jump
Yeah,
straight
that's
to
what I
some
wanna
value.
do.
Let's jump. We got to start wrapping. Let's
Yeah,
jump it
okay.
straight to value. We got 1 minute. Let's give the audience some value.
Okay.
Go.
Go.
Well, what do you want value on?
Give it to whatever the world needs to hear that you can help them.
Okay. Well, I think the biggest thing is learning how to control conversations.
Okay.
You do that through controlling the options, through framework, and through asking questions. We already went over asking questions, so I'll go through the other ones.
Which would make a
Framework.
negotiator a better negotiator.
Oh, yeah.
A salesperson close more deals. Cold caller set more appointments. Is
Well-
that the objective?
Imagine you could walk into any situation and you knew exactly how to navigate that conversation so that it was going to end up exactly where you wanted it.
So if I wanted to ask a pretty girl out, does it help there?
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I see. Something, yeah. I had a little joke there.
All right, Mateo, how does everybody get a hold of you? How does everybody get a hold of you?
You guys can go onto my website, although we're redoing it right now. It's unstuck.online. You guys can look me up on Instagram at the Teo Experience. I had that before Joe Rogan, by the way.
At
That-
Teo, at
The Teo.
THETA.
So at the _Teo, TEO _experience. And then
okay.
you can call me if you really want to get a hold of me.
If you really want to get a hold of me, I'm not that tough, because we have that
Not giving out
internet thingy.
my number though.
Most people have that internet thingy. Anyway, we appreciate you coming down. It's been a blast, man. It's been a
Yeah, I
blast. I'm
appreciate
telling you, there's so much.
We got to do it again.
You got a bright
We gotta do it
future
again.
ahead of you. Big, bright future ahead of
I
you.
appreciate that.
And that's it for all you guys listening, all you millions and millions of people listening. We are out.
Bye.